for another episode of Those Smack Talking Guys. Full of opinions on games, music, culture, and current events. These guys cover it all while humiliating each other. This is Generation Flip. Don't forget, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And now, crapping it up, here's your hosts.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in. We got a great show today, followed by the previous great show we had on the show. My boy Big Brown's back from Hawaii. What's going down, Brown?
Everything's going good, man. I'm finally getting the waves out of the brain and trying to get back into the grind. But the grind found me, so I'm back, man. I'm ready to go, and I'm excited about today, man. We got great shows coming up, but this one I'm excited about. It's got a lot of great information. It's going to teach us a lot about what's going on. What
the fuck?
This channel has now been hacked. Generation Flip, you have been compromised.
Dude, what's going on?
We've been hacked, bro.
Did you get it? Is it coming through?
We've been hacked.
This channel has now been hacked. Generation Flip, you have been
I
compromised.
think we've been hacked. Getting hacked.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity.
No doubt. From cybersecurity to Bitcoin to the internet to the dark web, we want to get some good information. And you know, our good friend Peter HEITMANN, he's just a wealth of knowledge, baby. Can we get Pete in here? Let's get Pete in here to say hello.
Let's get our guest. Actually, let's get both.
And Feliciano, let's get him in.
Yeah.
Hello, gentlemen. Hey.
Good to be back.
All right.
Welcome back, Pete. Welcome back. We did
Thanks,
a hell of a show with you last week. About close to 1,000 views. That's 1,000 hits already, my man.
That's awesome. More to come, and I brought some help today here.
Nice.
A gentleman who I've known for almost 30 years now. Just a fabulous person, and his expertise. I'm gonna let you talk about it, but yeah, Feliciano's here, and
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Generation Flip, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun with you, man.
We also want to get a lot of good information out of you. I'll tell you, the way things are going in the world today, from the internet to the Zodiac killers to the government butting into a lot of our stuff, and also the hackers from other countries. How safe really are we? I mean, should we really be worried about what's going on in today's industry? Because we talked earlier and enlightened and touched in on how our new generation is going to be a tech generation. If I can't get my phone open, my daughter says, give it to me. She's 10 and she'll ding, 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 ding. Okay, here you go.
yeah.
So it's that generation. So Felicia, how safe are you? And give us a little bit of information about you and how you got into it.
Well, about 25 years ago, I had an opportunity to work with a company that was just breaking into some North America market with security. And the company was based out of Japan. So we were able to get in here and break right in with what we would call IT security and then internet security. Internet was just coming. I mean, some people remember that, Napster, and they remember how people were ripping music off from the Napster side.
Yeah.
And all of that started to really open up to,
PM.
You remember graffiti artists. So back then, people would just basically say for fun, like, hey, I tagged your site and I left my credentials. Well, that's how, viruses used to be like, hey, I was clever enough to kind of, do some things to you and to your business. But it was harmless. So, you've probably seen commercials where like some duck would come on and they would maybe, embarrass you or, more of that type of thing. But now it's evolved into high criminal nation state, crime and espionage. And you got to kind of think about where this all started. And one of the things that I like to talk about and have everybody remember is that we as Californians here in this state voted for the California Privacy Protection Act. And a lot of people don't know that, that's a huge watermark in the world. That in itself will set the tone privacy and protection for citizens. So that's one thing that I always tell people to kind of read up about and understand. But then also, what's the more interesting parts? Like, working with the deep dark web and what's Tor and what's the history and as Peter was talking about, you had Darknet, which was part of DARPA out of Stanford, and the investment of the intelligence community into high tech, and that high tech was, how do we basically communicate with our agents across the globe? Well, we'll create a network where no one is basically knows who the other person is, and that's where the Tor, and now Tor is a public domain, and if you want to protect yourself, you could use Tor, but there's a number of different ways that you should be. If you want to protect your privacy, you could use DuckDuckGo, for example, and not have to be so complex with Tor and get a Unix server and get a handle. So there's a lot of things out there that are available for the common person, for us. And there's a lot of stuff out there that people kind of say, what's that all about? It's like I like to say, it's like an ocean out there. And you think like, navigation used to be, hey, if I sail this way, I'm going to get to the islands or I'm going to get to the new land. But if you want to basically know where like the things are that what we call like out there, you kind of have to be either invited to it or, specific chat rooms that you get invited. And that's where a lot of this nefarious activity, and, everybody's heard about Silk, the whole, what you would want to say, the nefarious stuff with the drugs being sold on, on Tor and these chat rooms and human trafficking and all of that. But there's a tie to all of that. There's a tie to all of that to the whole internet and how it's just being monetized. So, good things happen with the internet, and so it brings some bad and nefarious actors as well.
Yeah, I was just going to point out, the internet itself was created as an intelligence effort, right? In the 70s, the agencies that were responsible for developing technologies and national security purposes and then trying to merge them together is the DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And they linked 4 supercomputers together, and they were able to handle massive amounts of data transfer. But this was built for the military and for the intelligence network and for security purposes. Yeah. And in 1975, the intelligence community gathered right here in San Jose at the Fairmont Hotel, looking for the marriage of the two technologies and looking to move the technology that had been developed out from the universities and into monetizing, as Felice was saying. And so there was a large investment by the intelligence community that went on. And there was, a large amount of groups that were identified, people that were, within that community, money makers that make things happen. And it's a story that the public doesn't really know much, but we'll be sure to have that article posted on your site. And this article was written by the National Science Foundation director. So it has a lot of clout and cash, and it was written about 5 years ago. So it's important that everybody knows that the internet itself. And what I would ask Feliciano here is, when people say the dark web, I have people all the time that say to me, how do I get onto the dark web? And like Felice said, there's no pathway to get there. But maybe, Felice, if you could explain what information resides on the dark web, because this is information.
Well, the dark web was, like you said, was part of DARPA, and it was basically coming out of Stanford University and some other research centers. But primarily it was for espionage. So basically, if you were an agent and you could download Tor somewhere and by then it was like modems, right? Baud modem type of thing. You log in and then basically you can communicate, and you would be safe and no one knows who would do. However, there was always thought that there was some back door to it by certain people. So then as you got on, so that was always some thought to it. But quite honestly, what you have to think about is, okay, the internet is a good thing, and the internet can be used as a bad thing. And that's basically, what you have to you got to be, as a person, you've got to be aware of, like, okay, what am I doing? Am I contributing to the challenge of, like, you know, where there's a data breach? How can I mitigate my personal risk from a data breach out there? Because now I put my stuff out there, and you hear data breaches going on all the time, and those data breaches are your personal data. That means like your email, your password. You know, if you don't have, for example, let me give you a tip. If your password is less than 16 characters, we can hack it. There's tools to hack it in about 30 minutes to an hour.
Say what?
Wow. What?
So that's, you know, so, and it just processes that. And basically, if they can get if you keep like a password that's very similar and you're using your passwords, they can do that. And they'll use this for a number of different things, you know. So what will happen is, if I'm just basically looking for certain data and I want to go after someone, I'll go into one of these Tor. I'll have to have my credentials checked or be invited or have a reputation, because you just don't, you know, like if you were on the 7 Seas back then, you know, you wouldn't know where the pirates were.
Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
You know, think about it that way. That's how the dark web is. It's kind of like sometimes it's very invite only. Then basically they'll sell the data that's been, sometimes it's not sold, sometimes it's just partitioned out. And think about it as like an automobile, you know, an automobile, and you just part it out. You make a lot of money that way. Like, yeah. I'll sell like specific emails or addresses or whatever, you know, medical records, all kinds of stuff out there. I think the biggest one was the papers that were released out of the Panama Papers. Yeah. If you ever got, you know, wanted to take a look and dive into that, look at the Panama Papers that were released, and, you know, and all that was kind of leaked out.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question for you. I mean, Brown and I did a episodes back. We did a data.
Yeah. Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. We're still reeling from that. All kinds of spamming coming from that right now that we're tracking.
I mean, this is crazy. I mean, you can have more than a 16-character password so that I can't be hacked. 30 people.
And they'll drop malware on your computer, and you won't even know it's there. And you have to go down to the root level. You have to have sophisticated software, and most people aren't even thinking about it. As they cruise around and send things, like talk about the children.
Well, you guys have a community of gamers, right? So,
right.
You know, you guys are gamers, so think about game, and you've been in years for gaming, and I, you know, think about gamings and their chat rooms, right? Right. So you have your own gaming in your chat rooms. During some things you can't track in chat rooms. So imagine if you're like doing some nefarious type of thing on a gaming chat room. You can have a one-on-one or whatever, you know, in silent. That stuff is not being kept. You could have a conversation between two people that are, you know, doing whatever, planning whatever nefarious thing. You can have a whole conversation, a whole alliance that way on a gaming system,
right.
You know?
No, you're right. So, you're right.
I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, you know, Tanks, for example, like who makes the game Tanks? I mean, I think it comes from Eastern Europe, you know, a publisher from Eastern Europe. But a lot of people don't understand. I mean, there was a time we had I think when we had, and I don't like to use company names, but we had a company from the Eastern Europe, but more, not even Eastern Europe, more like Central Europe, you know, and they were putting their software in state and local government, and people didn't even realize, like, you know, I think they had to make a question, like, finally we had to kick them out of all state and local government on the systems, because we were figuring, like, hey, there's going to be a back door there. And, you know, because they're a security company, right? So they were really coming in and getting a nice footprint, nice business, really secure company. A lot of people liked them. And then all of a sudden, the U.S. government basically said, hey, you know what, you're no longer able to sell to the local and state government, because they were afraid that they may install a backdoor mechanism, which basically, you know, this is the same country that invited everybody to a G7 summit and then put a thumb drive in their kit And then basically everybody went home with their like little like gotchkey thing. And it was like, hey, this is a nice thumb drive. And then they put it in, and then everybody got freaked out. Like, what am I loading onto my system? You know?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Right.
There was also a gaming company, and we're not going to name names here again, but there was at least one that I know of that was caught writing code that would basically allow them to capture from their end what you were saying if you were using their software.
Wow.
So what I like to get back to is I always like to help the consumer, us, people that don't know much. Like, what can they do? Like, okay, you just said change my password. Well, one thing is to like have your password manager and have something there, because, you know, we're going to be moving, you know, California Privacy Act is going to come down on companies, and they're going to come down on agencies, and that agency, the CPAA of California, is going to set the tone, and then every other state probably in the United States will follow that tone because of the technology that we have here, and then that Privacy Act will protect us. But that's just to protect us on how these publishers and content providers sell our data, right? So, you know, search engine optimization, and then your data, and then it's basically sold. Well, we're not even talking about the deep dark web there. We're just talking about social media,
Exactly.
Facebook, you know, just on the top.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just the top of the iceberg. Then when you go down deep, you like go, oh, the T-Mobile breach. Woo! That's being sold and monetized, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
Think about like.
Can you imagine the recovery? What's going to take to recover people's data from that?
It's massive. It's massive, and some of the examples I've seen already. So people should be aware of it. I've already seen some examples where people were using credentials on Target that was basically from the Amazon. So if you're correlating and using your cell phone data on T-Mobile for Target or for a Target app, right? If your app is you're using your same email and the password, right? They're now making charges, and T-Mobile is like scrambling, and everybody's trying to scramble, even fintech, right? The financial tech. They're all trying to scramble and deal with this breach, because the monetization right now that's being done by the hackers, or what's been done, is just massive. And you have to kind of think about, like, this is not like, 1997 and I love you virus, or, the Michael these viruses where like, I love you, and you can see this little heart go, and like, we hacked your system. Ha ha ha. No, this is like some heavy duty millions of dollars,
Wow.
Yeah, it used to be a pride thing if you hacked, right?
Yeah, it was like tagging. It was like, hey, I was here, and then someone tried to do better than you, and then you could like wear it on your sleeve, like, hey.
Right. And where did a lot of those hackers end up after they were arrested? Working for the government?
I know a specific case where someone basically truncated a Federal Reserve Federal Reserve wire.
Yeah.
And this is before the Federal Reserve had any type of security on that. I mean, they had good security, but people were like, you give like 15, 16-year-olds like a challenge, they're going to figure it out, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember also watching the news right after the presidency, when Biden had won the presidency, and all of a sudden the gas prices started to go through the roof, and everybody was pointing the finger at Biden. Oh, look what you did. Trump would have never let it happen. And it turned out, I did a little research, it turned out that the gasoline industry got hacked.
Yeah. Exactly. So we took a massive hit on our infrastructure.
Was it Georgia, wasn't it?
Right?
Yeah,
so
Georgia.
we took a massive hit on our infrastructure. And sometimes when you see these outages, or, you always have to think like, what was behind it, right? Because we'll never know the full story.
Exactly.
Sometimes we'll hear something, but if you've been in around long enough, you'll kind of like say like, that's kind of odd, that's peculiar. I don't have any it's no smoking gun, but
right.
We do know that. So for example, we know that China, and we know all the really good ones are like Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, Israel, North America, US,
USA, absolutely.
USA, we're all Israel, we're all very good in cyber protection or cyber warfare or any of that, right? That's a given. But when you put sanctions on a company, on a country, not on a company, but you put it on a country, and you put them in a position where they have to monetize, they'll put resources to that, to monetize, to breach. So for example, if you can, let's just walk through it. You don't know who I am, but I have now 50 million records, and I can sell each record for 2 cents or a nickel, or maybe part it out, right? I could fund, as a nation state, I can fund myself, for quite well with a massive, breach. I could feed a lot of people, or I could do a lot of things with that, that type of money. You got to think that way sometimes when you see these type of breaches.
So let me ask this, and I think this is important to me.
Yeah.
Is every system, I'm trying to verbiage it right, it blows me away how the government can have a system and it gets hacked. How come they can't close the door? How come they can't just, for T-Mobile, for the gasoline industry, the big companies,
Home Depot, Schwab, Yahoo.
It just goes on and on. How come they can't close the door? Apple, how come they just can't lock that thing and nobody can get in?
Well, there's a couple of things that you bring that. Well, that's more like a networking thing. And think about, there is one country that's doing that. That's basically, the Great Wall is what they call it in the industry. It's called the Great Wall, but it's basically, there's no way out. They control everything on the internet, and that's, the CCP. So they control what people can see on the internet. They full control it. Yeah, China. They're full control. They a lot of cases there, and you can see that they can do that. And we go down a path that's a lot more wide open, right? Because of liberty. But primarily think about it more like the monetization of it, right? Social media and all that stuff that's on the top of the iceberg, that monetizes search engine optimization. Google, for example, everybody that's just buying online these days. So this is just, it's not going to go away. And then this is the evolution. This is why I think the evolution is going to go into Bitcoin. So when people start talking about first of all, let's say, we talk about blockchain which is the underlying thing of Bitcoin. So blockchain's been around for a long time, and so has, the cryptocurrencies. But those are evolving now. And this is the wildest thing. I think you said it just the other day. Like you just said a moment ago, like my daughter's 10 years old giving me the thing and saying, no, look, I can do this. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
In about 10 years, what's fintech and banks going to do when they say everybody's got their own wallet for cryptocurrencies, and it's just
right.
And people are trying. And then there's the whole hacking of your digital wallet, right. And so now we're working on our digital wallet. So now we're going to have. So I remember when people used to say hey, currency is going to go away, and I was going currency is going to go away.
I did the same thing. I'm
right. Like how and I don't know what age I was, maybe in my late teens or 19, 20, currency is going to go away. That's crazy talk, but it's going away.
Yeah.
It's gone almost. Think about it. It's gone. It's gone the way of the landline phone.
If you go to a football game, and you want to buy 4 beers for your buddy in the stands, they don't take cash anymore.
Nope. No more.
No cash.
Yeah.
No more. So, and they can say it's because of COVID, but really, if you think about it, when you talk about nefarious, the drug dealers are going to have the biggest hard time with this. And then you've got.
So that's why Peter. That's why I think you're right. So that's why I don't think the dark web's going anywhere.
Nope.
It's going to be there. I think it's like a good and a bad thing. We just have to know how to use it as a good tool, but be careful that it's a tool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that we also did as a society, as a culture, is we helped the intelligence community with all this Bitcoin by massively increasing the computing power. Everybody was linking together. Everybody kept buying faster and faster drives so that you could get more and more coins, and it massively accelerated computers to the point where, we talked about this before, where a singularity is coming in X amount of years, where computers will move faster than human intelligence, and so either humans will have to become neurally integrated into a network or get left behind as the speed of everything goes right by us.
Yeah.
And that's when you really will have the haves and have-nots.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. I was just in Hawaii, and I was there with my whole family, my son and my nephew. And I always tell the kids, bring cash when you travel.
Yeah.
Bring cash.
Yeah.
Just bring $300 or $400. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, yeah, just have some cash on you.
Yeah, and they always looked at me like I was crazy. So here we are. I charter a boat to go fishing, right? I paid for it, $1,000. I got it. I got my nephews and my son and my brother-in-law. We're fishing, having a good time. Well, the trip's coming to an end, right? And I go, okay, guys. I told you guys, bring some cash for the tip. Let's tip this cat.
Yeah.
And they all
What
looked
cash?
at me. They looked at me. and They go, "What?"
Right.
You got a Venmo account?
Hey, exactly. I go. Didn't I not tell you guys to bring cash? And they're like, "Well, yeah, but I mean, everything's right here. I just."
Right.
Hey, and I said,
Yeah.
I go, son of a. So I pulled out $150 and I tipped the two deckhands, $75 a piece. We get back to dinner. We're having dinner, and everybody's winding down. And I said, okay. I go, you three, which was my son-in-law, my son, and my nephew. I said, man, how many times have I told you to bring cash?
Right.
And you know the argument was, Dad, nobody carries cash anymore.
Right. It's always about what these other people do. It isn't about what the adults do. It's
Exactly.
about what the contemporaries do.
I said,
And
I
how
go,
about- How about if you're buying something at like a barbecue place, and
Yeah.
it's $10.78, and you hand them a $20.78, and they don't know what to do. They have to get the manager because
Yeah, they don't know how to do math.
Make it easier, so you just have to give me back a 10. They're
10.
all, I don't get it.
Oh,
Hang on, sir.
I laid into those guys. I just laid in. I said, we're grown men. And they go, well, that's old school. I said, well, if it's old school, then maybe you should take a piece of old school and carry it with you. I said, and I told my nephew, especially with you being in the service industry, you were a waiter for many years. Did you like people that pay a tip on a check, or would you like them to give you cash?
Right.
And he's all, well, I always wanted cash. I said,
Cash is undeclared.
That's what I told him. I said, so there
So
you
that's
go.
what I'm. So that's what I'm saying now. Like the whole cryptocurrency, that money's undeclared.
Exactly.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Exactly.
The only thing you have to be careful about that is like that one cat that's down to his last try. He's got like so many millions, like over 100 million. And if he uses his last try on the password that he forgot, he's gone. It's gone. It's back in. Yeah, it's gone. And I'm like thinking like, man, how could that happen? You get at least a saying like, Madre mia, hijo de puta, something like you won't forget,
At least 16 letters.
Yeah, 16 letters.
16
exactly.
letters. I'm never going to forget that. Now, here's the problem. I don't know how in the hell I'm going to figure a 16-letter password, but the nice thing is I can keep it on my phone, which will probably get hacked. My notepad.
Guys, those who are just tuning in, hopefully you guys subscribe to the channel. If not, please do so. We have two guests, Peter Heitmann in the past. He came on last week's show, did excellent. And we're talking about cyber attacks and cybersecurity right now with Felice. I have a caller. I'm going to bring him in. He's a subscriber. And he has probably a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind asking.
Sure.
Bring him in. God dang it.
See if we can help you out.
Yeah.
Hey, Carlos, you want to meet the mic? There you go. You got a question for my man here?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what I'm gathering from what you're saying is everything is starting to turn towards Bitcoin everything's going digital. What advice would you give to a young person who maybe wants to go to college one day? I mean, obviously not myself. I'm way past that. But like, what would you encourage for
Repeat the
children
question.
to be successful in the industry and knowledgeable with Bitcoin and on the internet and with the web?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would do is everybody has credit cards. So I would get a wallet that has an RFID protection. It's a little like a little metal case. You put your credit cards in there, and you're basically now protected from that little chip or the magnetic thing from people trying to just phish you if you're going out. Because let's be honest, you're going to be targeted only because you're in a certain area, a bar, a location, you're traveling, you're young, or you're older and you don't know any better because you're just kind of like out there. But that's the first thing I do. I'd get that RFID metal protected wallet. Then the thing I would do is I get a password manager. I'd figure out what's the best password manager that you could find, that then you could basically put your passwords and then alternate your passwords, figure out a way that you change your passwords at least once a year, because that's and especially not for everything, but your financial, your bank account, that would be good. And then you got to think about what you're using for browsing. So there's a lot of out there. If you're thinking about how am I going to be safe, it's kind of like one of these things. I'm going to share a little bit of my age, but when I was younger, the big thing was like, geez, could you kiss somebody and catch AIDS, or like AIDS, or could you do that? You're in that environment now again with COVID, in the sense like, hey, well, if I go here, am I going to get COVID? But you got to think that way even with your internet usage. So I would use, like, first of all, I would basically get a DuckDuckGo or one of these browsers that are really safe, right? And then always patch up
on Amazon, right? I've seen some.
You're talking about the RFIDs, though.
Right.
Yeah. You get one of those things for your credit card and your it's a wallet. It's like a little
a hard case wallet.
Yeah. Right. I've seen them on Amazon. Like military.
There you go. Yep. There it is. Nice.
There's a fire, or
right?
something, you're protected.
And then there you got it. There you go. Right. And then.
So he also asked about what kind of, what educational college would you recommend? As far as college, what do you recommend for a young person to go and be successful in cryptocurrency? Bitcoin.
There's a couple of different paths. So if you're good in math, you just go right into that whole software engineering, and you plug yourself right in if you're really tight with math. If you're not tight with math, then you've got to think like, okay, is my skill set then with marketing? Is that where I want to gravitate to? And marketing, everybody knows, you're basically positioning, right? Positioning the service. So, there's the service would be, you go work with PayPal. PayPal is working, go to some of these companies that are really, how can I say, hiring these crypto, look for the job titles, and then you'll see where these people are going. And you don't have to go to a top MIT. You don't have to get to Caltech. This is basically stuff that's going to be you learning online, and learning about it, and also getting some certificates about, understanding about, cryptology and how that works. But, you can almost make yourself a self-learned person here and get still a degree and certificates.
Also, right here in Santa Clara, near where NASA is Singularity University, that's run by Ray Kurzweil, that's integrated into all kinds of different networks that you can move straight out of that school into a job, right? And I don't know exactly how much it costs, or they have scholarships, but if you can get into Singularity University, that's where you want to be if you're very serious. If you could get into that, take a look at it. And then the other thing I would add is if I was a young kid coming up, for example, for both of my children for their birthdays, we got them Doge, which is like a Bitcoin type fund. And you can get into something like Doge right now. It's all speculation, but they each have an $800 certificate. And the hope is by the time that they're ready to go to, college or whatnot, that may grow significantly. And if it doesn't, you're only out $800. So Doge, DOGE, is something else to take a look at. I'm not necessarily saying you should buy it, but that's the type of things that are out there.
Alex, come in, baby. You there?
I'm there. I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Good deal.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hear you good.
All right. Yeah, some of the stuff you guys are talking about, extremely interesting. And you're talking about Napster, and everyone always brings up Napster, but I'm not that old. Well, at least in my head, I'm not that old. I'm 39, but I used to pirate my stuff through news groups using Merc.
Yeah.
Which Merc was a chat room, and you're talking about how like the dark web. So to me, that was kind of dark web-ish.
Yep.
You would have to go into a chat room, find the topic, have someone actually willing to do a person-to-person share, peer-to-peer, open up their freaking gate, open up their firewall so you could actually go into their computer and they will share a file with you.
Yep.
And there was no hacking like that crazy like there is these days, which makes no sense to me.
Like Crosswire.
And actually, Feliciano, if I can, maybe Chris could help me out later. To maybe you could be we could dig into your brain a little bit, because my brother's trying to develop this classroom at an adult school level, which it's kind of hard to we don't have any ideas. Like last week we had a meeting where we're talking about like cyber ranges, stuff like that. Like, how do we get these young adults to be interested in cybersecurity?
So here's the thing. If you're an engineer, you're just told what to build and you code it. So sometimes you don't even know about cybersecurity. Typically,
compiler,
yeah, you're just a compiler, right? You're just like, then there's like what you just, your caller just kind of described, like, I wanted to get to a path. I wanted to get something, and I just had to learn through like self-navigation, right? You go up and you figure the stuff, you search on the net, you talk to people, and then you're invited to a room in the deep dark web, and you're kind of introduced to that side of things. And then you kind of probably take that and you say like, well, let me break some more things. How can I break some more things, And then you just break code, and that's where that term hacking comes from. You break code and you're in search of all the vulnerabilities. But you could be, there's a lot of different paths. You could be just, a bug, like a bug finder, like, hey, I found a vulnerability and there's a bug and I make $50,000. I mean, that you got to be exceptional, but there's, companies pay for people to find hacks and let us know, right? And they'll pay them, right? You make money off of that.
That's like what we discussed, Brown and I, in the previous T-Mobile issue. There was a guy who had a backdoor in T-Mobile's briefs. What he went to he was at a cafe or something, Brown? Do you remember that story?
Yeah, I remember a little bit about that, where he had the opportunity and he notified him.
Right.
And he told them, hey, man, there's an issue here. You guys need to know about it. And I don't think they took him serious, or they didn't pay him money.
Right. You know what? That'll happen, right? If they don't pay him money, then they're running the risk.
Right.
Only he knows.
Right. Oh. So, and that's the other thing, there's a lot of people get worried about ransomware and locking up my drive and then holding me. I mean, a lot of people get I'll tell you, like, hey, I probably get about 8 emails a week. I found your, I'm going to hold you ransom because you've been going to these sites, blah, blah, blah. And I've got taken pictures, blah, blah. I don't know if anybody else gets these, but I'm not going anywhere. They just send them to me, right? So I look at it and I go like, why are they trying to target for people for phishing, right? Press this button, send me the money, Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. You don't even, anybody who ever gets an email like that, the first thing that probably people not in the industry, they go like, holy shit, what happened? What is this all about? And then they delete it. And then maybe they get sent 3 or 4 more times. Well, guess what? Their email was compromised. It was it's been sold, and now you've got phishers that are just basically sending it like on a robot, right? Send it to them 7 times to their email. They'll click on it once. I guess that's kind of like the statistics. You'll click on something if it's sent to you so many times, right?
Yeah.
And most people will click on that, and then bingo, it's a confirmation that that email and that person exists.
Right.
And you're going to see that now. You see that on your phone calls.
Right.
If you don't have a good thing, you're like, oh, spam. Who's calling this from Mishawaka, Wisconsin? Who the heck is this?
Right.
The business model is just for you to call them back so they have your information to sell.
It's just to confirm. Yeah, it's like answer. You click on the answer side. You say, you answer it, and then there's no one on the other side. You just confirm that your telephone number is active.
Yeah,
and it's
I did that today.
It's also associated to whatever email that they hacked, and then now they have 2 points of correlation.
Yeah, right. I did that today. I did it today. I got a phone call. It was a local 408. I didn't recognize it. I didn't do it. Called me back, and then it was spam. And then I just hung up on it. I didn't touch it, but I went back into my phone on my my calls, and I go, oh, that was a 408 number. Yeah. I go, maybe that's somebody that,
Right,
and I called them back.
The number.
Hey, here's a cool thing. Not cool, stupid on my end. I call back and they go, hey, Mr. Castillo. And I'm all, who's this?
Yeah.
She goes, talking about your auto insurance and that I'll give you a great quote. I said, no, thank you. I hung up and I blocked the number.
That's what we got to do.
Yeah.
They'll send you a text that says, do you want to sell your house?
That's the whole thing.
My name is Mr. Jones.
That's the California Protection Agency that's trying to figure that one out for us, man.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff is being sold. It's like monetized.
Yeah.
And we're getting. It's like we're just getting this short end of the stick, man.
Right.
Well, sure. And you remember the do not call list, right? We would all say, put me on the do not call list. Well, they changed that now to where every year you have to opt out again.
Really?
It's not permanent. It's every year. So there's a workaround. Yeah. Alex, I was going to ask you, what city are you looking to start that business up in? Here in San Jose?
No, it's actually going to be in Palmdale because my brother has been working with the Edwards Air Force Base and Lockheed and stuff, and he's going to try to provide students on that path for them to go through them afterwards. After you're done with our program, go with them.
Yeah, my advice would be to go look locally within the city. Almost every city now has a diversity and inclusion fund. And it's something that they're all really trying hard, especially
the funds are there,
is to invest in the communities that didn't have access to all of these types of fundings.
The one thing COVID did provide was that the state is pumping in a lot of money into a lot of, I forgot what my brother's, the word he used, but a lot of programs.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to secure $1 million grant, and then we're looking to get even more money after that.
So
there's going to be
there's a provider out there that. So take a look at a company called Cyflare, CYFLARE.com. They may have some technologies there, and they're leveraging some of the things like what you said in the SOC. But this is kind of like SOC as a service. So it's because it's building out a SOC, it costs a lot of money. And the most important part is the analysts. So if where you're going with this, if you can train entry-level analysts, that means first get the tools. Like a SOC usually has like a threat intelligence platform, and it usually has some different type of a couple of platforms to at least do services, right?
Correct.
And then if you can basically tie that up and then train people to become analysts and to get the certs to be analysts, Geez, you're analysts right now. There's a shortage of analysts.
It's a booming
Yeah.
business.
And you don't even
A lot
have
of
to
industry.
code. Coding is not even part of analysts. Analysts is like someone who sifts, like you just said, I forgot if it was Flip, but someone says like, you're basically looking at lines and lines and lines and you're just basically monitoring this and then picking out the things and correlating it with the tools that you have and then maybe sending it to like a third level analyst to do more checking. But you're kind of like, doing the hard work as a first level analyst. And then when you become a third level analyst, you're doing more of the, like that interesting work that you see on the TV, right? Or the shows, right?
Right.
Third level analysts are the ones that can associate
that sounds good.
more of the what I would call, and there's certifications for like first level analysts, second, and we don't have enough analysts, man.
Nope.
And either if it's in the businesses or in the high tech industry,
That's why they're bringing
there's a
foreign
shortage.
workers in for those type of positions.
Yeah.
If
So
we had people that were trained to do it, we wouldn't need to bring in those foreign nationals.
no, yeah. So like, if any of you guys can give your information to Chris, and I would like to contact you guys, and hopefully you could we could set up a meeting with you, and you could give us some more ideas, because my brother, and then we have a few of his ex-students who are in different various fields.
Sure.
We get together every Wednesday because this thing's supposed to be up and running by next fall
Okay.
of 2022. So everything else is kind of, we got the server thing kind of tied in and done already. The A+ done, the E-Way Center done. But it's just the cybersecurity thing. Like, we're not too sure what we're doing there. Like, how would we go about making it almost not authentic, like if you get stuck like at work, but kind of like, let's get your feet wet so you don't get bored doing it. And like we said, we're looking at the cyber ranges, and then just various things. And from what we could see, no one's doing it at an adult school level, or at a high school level. And we're trying to give people, opportunities. Like, for $150, come and learn, see if you like it, then pursue it more afterwards.
Yeah.
But
It'll open the
great
door
idea.
and kind of get them aware.
Great
there
idea.
was another caller. He was asking about what tips he could receive to protect himself. Now, I always tell people, if you're extremely curious about the web, the dark web's cool to explore. There's no lie to it. But the most secure way I do it is actually using virtual machines. I won't use my computer itself.
No, you wouldn't.
I'll boot up a VM, load Windows 10 into it, load up a VPN and everything, play with it that way, and then when it's done, it's done. I have to, And also for passwords, I use a password manager called LASTPASS.
No, that's a good one.
And there's a free version and there's a paid version. The paid version allows you to have more accounts. And what it is, you set up one password, and then it gives you a bunch of crazy randomized, generalized passwords for all your other accounts, and it does it each time you log in. It makes you a new password.
Yeah, what's the name of that? What's the name of that?
Yeah.
LASTPASS.
LASTPASS. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Because that's what Feliciano was saying. Most people use the same password for
I'm
everything.
not gonna lie.
Everything they do in life.
I've done that I did that all my
Everybody
early
does.
20s. I did the same thing. It was my last name, my street address for like 10 things, but I never got hacked, thank God.
Good, Alexander. Thank you, man. You brought some good points up. We appreciate that. I know we're getting a little pushed on time. Feliciano's on a tight schedule. Things I want to highlight. Everybody go out and get an RFID card. Password manager, LASTPASS. Alexander, thanks for bringing that up. LASTPASS is something that we should be getting. Browsing.
RFID wallet.
RFID wallet, my bad. And then also you mentioned about DuckDuckGo. Important stuff, people. Protect your information.
For your browser.
Yes. Yep.
You guys, there you have it. We will have Feliciano on the show again for the second part. We'll have him live. If you guys have any questions live, join the chat room. You can hit him up live. We'll keep you guys posted for the second break for that. You guys, I appreciate it. For you guys coming out, taking your time. Feliciano, thank you very much.
It's a great show.
Peter,
yes.
Brown,
You guys do
thank
a
you guys
wonderful
for coming
job.
out. callers that called in. Thank you so much
Yep.
for subscribing, donating to the show. It really helps the channel. I really appreciate it. And you guys at home, make sure you drop a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and tune in to the next channel. The next time we post up. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot, and have a great evening.